Welcome to the Staves & Co. podcast. We're here again talking to you about relevant bourbon topics. Man, I got overwhelmed there for a moment. Sorry. Talking about bourbon topics all in the whiskey space. So many different things, and there's so much to be talking about these recent months, weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell's is doing great things. Old Forester just released for the first time in ever
A new
website
product.
stuff.
Yeah, website stuff
where
and a new product.
And a new product. Weller released a new product. The expansions at so many different places.
Yes.
Penelope got acquired. There's a lot of different things to talk about.
Not only did they get acquired, they dropped maybe two of the biggest hype bottles. So Rio dropped.
Yep.
And immediately went to secondary, I saw, for almost $500.
Yeah, crazy.
And then yesterday they announced a 15-year American Light.
I saw that, yeah. So there's a lot. Now, needless to say, there is a lot in bourbon news, and that's great. And that's what we want to come to talk about in the future. But that's not what we're talking about today. I've got our topic.
Okay.
And I have a question for you that we're going to discuss on, and I want to get your thoughts and insight. Today's topic on Staves & Co. podcast is, why do we like things in boxes? That's the topic for today. And I've got here, if you're not watching the video, I've got Booker's, I've got Blanton's, and I've got a Taylor tube here. Why do we like, as consumers, and this can go beyond bourbon if you need to expand, but I want to start the basis on this conversation. Blanton's. It's sitting here with us. Blanton's comes, I mean, on the retail shelves, it can come in so many different ways. There's if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm going to say here. It comes in a little mesh, plasticky wrap.
Yep.
It comes in a bag, a leathery vinyl bag.
Yep.
And then it comes in a box. And then that box comes in the shipping box with all the other ones inside of it. So many layers of shipping, but then also the customer experience of not having consistent experience on the delivery side. Customers can get any variety from just the bottle to any of that variety of the other items that I just listed off.
Yep.
So, A, why do they do it? And B, why do we attribute value to really nothing that adds to our drinking and enjoyment of the beverage?
I think it's all about, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, whatever. The marketing and the fact that it's available and we want it. Like, if it's an option, right? It's like going to buy a new car. Mm-hmm. If it's got the option, I want it. I want it fully loaded.
I understand that. But I'm asking, the hype is there around this bottle for Blanton's, however it comes.
Correct.
But it comes in such a variety of ways. How does that add to our experience? Because they're not marketing it as pushing it. They're marketing it in a sense of it's there, but it's like, which one am I going to get? When I say, hey, do you have any Blanton's? You have no idea what the person's going to walk out with if they go out to the back. So answer me that on, how does that attribute adding value to the purchasing experience?
I just think it's something that, being that it is an option and that we do want that specific product, we want that, and it just kind of increases the hype of it. Like, oh, not only is it Blanton's, it comes in this bag, this velvet bag or this leather bag, and then it comes in the box. But then you notice that if you get the weird plastic mesh, you don't get the bag or the box. But then sometimes in the box, you don't get the bag. But then sometimes you get the bag and not the box. Or they all come together. I don't understand what Buffalo Trace is doing, but whatever they're doing, I personally think stores are just taking the bag and the box and they're putting it in the bag.
To what end, though? Why? What are they doing with it?
Who knows? I'm just shooting from the hip here.
I get you. But I think of it as me as the consumer. I've had several Blanton's boxes sitting around, and all it does is I ask myself, why am I keeping this?
I threw away my Blanton straight from the barrel. No, I kept the straight from the barrel box. I threw away my gold boxes, and I threw away the other boxes because you know what? I don't have the shelf space for them. But I wanted them in the beginning.
Sure. That's okay. So let's try and evolve ourselves a little bit here. Blanton's was obviously the big starting point for me because that was the one that I found the most variety in. But we've got Booker's here, which comes in a beautiful
Gorgeous box.
wood box with the plexi cover inlay. And then we've got the Taylor tube. Tubes are like, I feel like a whole nother story
Oh, yeah.
because like you've seen Eagle Rare in tubes. I've seen old Carter tubes. I've seen, oh gosh, like so many different. I'm trying to think
I
through.
mean, Scotch has tubes like crazy.
Yeah, true. We tried doing a Scotch podcast and it didn't feel unnatural, but it just felt
Felt dirty. I needed a shower.
Weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sticking in that, we've got the Bookers and the Taylor tubes here. So again, attributing value. I think the Bookers definitely does that.
Oh, yeah.
As far as attributing value, because yes, it's a beautiful container, but there's also containing information inside. So like they've got the card that tells you about the batch and the specifics. So it is containing more information, which is cool. They definitely want to take up your shelf space in the capacity of like this is a staple piece, and it adds more. If you take it out of the box, you put it up on your shelf, and you've got literally, for me, like my eye looks off in the distance, and all I see is that the batch stripes are kind of the indicators that that's a Booker's product. So when it's outside of the box, there's definitely an exchange of value of impression. There's no real value change on the product itself, but Taylor tube, like it's a tube. It's a piece of cardboard.
I saw a video actually the other day, and Buffalo Trace, or it was actually one of the higher ups at Sazerac, they said if you purchase an EH Taylor and it does not have a tube, there is a great chance that is an actual fake EH Taylor.
There's a market for fake.
There is a market for fake. So if you've been out there and you've purchased an EH Taylor and it doesn't have a tube from a store, you may want to check to see if that's actually real. You may want to see if there's a serial number.
Because I could see something in that capacity happening in the secondary market,
right?
Where you go to a buddy and I've got the bottle, but there's some weird story. Oh, the tube got damaged, so I just threw it away, or some weirdness like that. Could be a refill or a swap out or a reprint or something. Yes, there could be some weird exchange going on there, but my mind just can't comprehend the amount of logistics involved in trying to fake something to make $100. That's a lot of logistics to go through and then try to.
You can check Craigslist and some of the other sites and eBay. I mean, they're selling empty bottles of the BTAC collection for upwards of $300.
Wow,
that is that much of a market.
That's crazy. But again, that could be for any sort. That could be like an artisan trying to use something for different things. But if someone wants to spend $300 to buy, like I've got a Eagle Rare 17 empty there. If I sold that for $100, just the empty, someone's worth going to buy something that's close in the proximity of color for a $20 bottle and just a dump it in there, get the close color. You're going to reseal it
and
somehow?
There is a market for fakes like crazy.
Wow. I mean, I guess that's just not a world that I have no use for, so I'm not knowledgeable and connected. Right. I'll admit that I don't have any. But I was aware that exists, but my mind just can't comprehend the amount of logistics involved to acquire enough materials to then fill it. The amount of time that it's involved for you to then, if you say Eagle Rare 17, that's easily $1,000 bottle.
Easily.
So if you can acquire the materials, how much time's like $300 to buy the thing and then fill it up, and the amount of time, and how much are you gonna do to acquire sleeves that look enough to then hair dry them and to shrink wrap them? I have no idea, but like that just sounds painful level of logistics.
We think that the logistics are painful on that, but if that's just what you do,
I guess. I guess. I mean, the amount of opportunity as a consumer on my side to think through what's my process to just get the bottle that I want. Sure, it's either go to an expensive store that's overpricing them, or build a relationship or a friend exchange, or out of state kind of like, oh, you found it, cool. I'd love to trade you for it or something. But that doesn't feel as different or as connected to a full secondary market.
And so I've seen it. The video was talking about, I believe it was like unicorn auctions, and there was so many fake bottles sold on unicorn auctions. And then there was actually I want to say it was a E.H. Taylor 4-grain that was purchased at a very, very high-end bourbon store. I want to say, was it in Louisville, downtown? I can't remember. But the video is floating around on TikTok, and
Okay.
it was floating around on other social media platforms where the store knew it was a fake, sold it at a secondary price
Wow.
to the news reporter, and they took it to Buffalo Trace, had it tested, popped it. It wasn't 4-grain.
Mm-hmm.
The laser etching didn't match,
Wow.
and there was no tube. And when they brought it back to the store declined to comment, shut the door in the reporter's face. This whole thing.
Yeah.
And to think that one, stores know, bars know, and they're pawning these bottles off and pouring them because of the hype, and they're selling, I mean, you think what? You're looking at a 4-grain pour. If you're not in some of the tasting bars at some of these liquor stores in
Yeah.
Louisville, you're talking about maybe $80, $90, $100 a pour.
Man.
And you might be actually just getting some Taylor small batch.
It's a sad thing to think about when if you let it get to you too deeply in the terms of like think about that unicorn pour that you just really want to
Yeah.
taste, and to know that you're potentially not. My mind doesn't want to accept how deep of a potential problem that could be, in hopes that restaurants are getting their product through distributors that are reputable, to think through what is possible.
Yeah.
It's just that blows my mind at the like, really, you'd go that much out of your way to save X number of dollars to it's a head scratcher for me.
Knowing too that these high-end restaurants or high-end bars and high-end stores, they're able to get the product at MSRP.
Sure. Yeah.
That they have to buy it. Mm-hmm. Being in the industry, they can only buy it for that.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So all these places are saying, that are saying, hey, well, I didn't even pay that much for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you bought it on secondary market, which is maybe also illegal in your state.
Yeah.
But, can you imagine going to a high-end restaurant and saying that you want some Van Winkle Lot B, and they pour you Weller 12?
I'd be really pissed at that.
Please give me a large Mountain Dew.
I also think that I could maybe pick that specific example out. I would hope that my palate would.
But man, imagine 2-3 drinks in, you're like.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I probably would have started with that though.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have let my palate go blown and then not do that. But whatever. That's kind of an extended topic, but. To kind of wrap up our idea around here of why do things come in packages, in boxes of the sale itself, I don't think that there is the intent of adding value to the secondary hype of it, but I definitely think they want it to blow off the shelf as fast as possible.
Yeah.
That's like their main goal there.
Marketing, advertisement, presentation. I was actually hanging out with a buddy who's a store manager with Publix, and he said, if it looks good to the eye, it looks good to the stomach.
Sure.
And when he said that, that's literally one of Publix's mottos.
Yeah.
If it looks visually appealing, then people are going to buy it because then they think it automatically tastes better.
Yeah. There was a last point on a topic on this very similar thing that just hit my mind. It took so many years for the revolution change in cereal that there was only Malto Meal making off-name brand cereal in bags, and only recently, in the past maybe 5 to 8 years, that main brands you can actually find real Captain Crunch.
Yeah.
You can find real Pebbles and all these brand cereals in large bags for the same price as a smaller bag inside of a box. Why did we need that box? Why did we cling on to that? And I know for me as a kid, it visually, boom, it sells it, whatever. So I get that. But, with the economy the way it is and all the kinds of environmental needs and all that kind of stuff, why have such a grasp to really hold on to that need for a package within a package? And I think we're evolved enough as a society to identify that we don't have to have that in every situation. So I hope that continues as a trend. Marketing efforts to continue some of these brands, they don't need to be any harder to find.
Correct.
They don't need to be that. And I'm grateful that the certain brands are blowing up in their sales and they're planning to expand. And I hope that shift changes to where it's back to much more easy to acquire. I don't need it to sit on the shelf. I don't wish that for them, but I do wish for the average consumer to be able to get whatever it is that they want. Obviously, that won't apply to absolutely everything, but certain things that should be, like Blanton's as an example, for the quality of the drink that it is, should not have to be such a difficult struggle to acquire it.
I agree 100%.
So leave us a note in the comments. Send us a message. You know how to get a hold of us. You're savvy. I get it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Staves & Co. podcast talking about marketing and packaging within products. So we'll catch you next time. Take it easy, everybody.